It's good to see some new faces in here and some friendly faces in here as well. All your faces are friendly. Pursuant to the Governor's Code, Section 54953E, and to ensure public safety measures while maintaining transparency and public access, members of the public may participate in the meeting telephonically. This meeting will also be video streamed live on the city's website as well as Channel 28. City Clerk, roll call, please. Assistant City Clerk, sorry.
Commissioners Carter. Here. Cullen. Deloche.
Here.
Hone. Joseph.
Here.
Pope.
Here.
Oh, excuse me, Vice Chair Pope.
Here.
Chairman Cannon.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to skip the invocation today, but will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin. Put your right hand over your heart first, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Consent calendar. Are there any speakers for the consent calendar?
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on item CC1, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your call-in number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press *9 at this time. There are no speakers.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second for the approval of the consent calendar?
I make a motion that we approve the consent calendar as stated.
It's been moved by Commissioner Deloche. Is there a second?
I make a second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Can we make the vote, please?
Commissioners Carter.
Aye.
Deloche.
Aye.
Joseph.
Aye.
Vice Chair Pope.
Aye.
Chairman Cannon.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you. Continued business. So this is continued discussion and possible action for our equity report. As you all know, we have finalized it. I'm sorry? Oh, my script says continued business, but we have presentations, don't we? First, or?
Yeah, presentations.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have a different, the script's from February, that's why. Okay, presentations.
First presentation is introduction of Commissioner Vardon.
Okay. So, can I do that, or? Okay. So, we are making a little bit of history here in the city of Lancaster this morning. I would like to, before I welcome our new vice chair, first I would like to thank for an appreciation for our Commissioner Yori Carter for all of her work and due diligence as our first vice chair. As some of you may know, Ms. Carter was instrumental in the beginning stages of this commission, helping us get organized, bringing all of her corporate gravitas to the process. And I, as chair, I appreciate all of the work that you've done, and I'm looking forward to the continued work that you will do on this commission. I couldn't have been a better chair without you, and I really do appreciate you. And so that being said, I would like to welcome our new vice chair, Commissioner Giovanni Pope, who is going to be instrumental moving forward in the work that we have ahead. So with that being said, we are making history with, I think, is the youngest vice chair of a city commission in the city of Lancaster's history. So welcome, Vice Chair Giovanni Pope.
Thank you.
Would you like to say any few words?
Thank you so much, first and foremost. Just right quick, being a commission that is led by young people is just something that is so extraordinary to me. Like, we have 2 young people now that will be leading and co-leading this commission, and that is not lost on me. And so one of the whole points of getting into local government for me was so that young people could see themselves being represented in their government. That is something that is so, so important to me. So as a minority, in more ways than one, I am so proud to be leading this commission with you. And so the hope is that when our service on this commission is finished, that other young people will be able to take the helm of leadership with this, whether it's this commission or another commission. Hopefully young people feel comfortable enough at City Hall and in the city of Lancaster to really make their mark and show that this city belongs to them just as much as it does to anybody else. So thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Vice Chair Pope. It is not lost on me either. And our next presentation is the introduction of new city staff.
All right, well, I can help with that. I just wanted to update everybody. There's some changes that we're making in terms of staffing for the commission. It's been such a pleasure working with all of you and learning and growing with each and every one of you each and every day. And I'm excited to see what you guys are able to accomplish now that, you have some ideas in place and you know where you're headed. But with that, I did want to introduce you to our new staff members who will be working with you going forward. Ronald Chatters, who's to my left. And we'll give Ronald an opportunity to introduce himself. And then also Nigel Hawley, he is also with us tonight. So again, just wanted to thank you guys all for the opportunity to work with you. We're still at City Hall, so if you ever have any questions about economic development or anything, that is of interest, we're happy to help you out. So I'll let Ronald. Yes?
Thank you, Patty.
Evening for some. Again, my name is Ronald Chatters III. I have met many of you informally, but today is our formal introduction. I have been brought on by the city manager, Jason Caudill, to create a new office within the Department of Public Safety that focuses on diversion, prevention, and equity. So that being said, myself and Nigel Hawley have been given the charge to now staff you moving forward. I know we have some big shoes to fill. Both Patty and Karen have been a great resource to you all, so I hope that both Nigel and I could live up to the expectations that they have given each and every one of you. I just wanted to give you a little bit more background about who I am and where I sort of come from and how I view myself as sort of a resource to you, not just in terms of providing you information that relates to what the city is doing, but also maybe getting you to think about things in a different way as you promote equity within the city of Lancaster. So that being said, I am an Antelope Valley resident. However, like most people, I left after high school to go away for college. I am a licensed attorney here in the state of California, but I find myself coming back here because of my passion. My passion has always been criminal justice reform and helping those individuals who may not have the resources to help them overcome what I consider to be life's challenges. So I've worked on a variety of I guess you can say, issues. I've done community organizing of parents who have children in custody. I've organized communities who are impacted by, say, the reentry landscape, helping their family members, their neighbors, overcome the collateral consequences of incarceration. I've worked with organizations that sue entities like the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, and I monitored the Sheriff's Department's compliance with consent decrees. I've worked with other agencies that also sued, say, Department of Corrections here in California, and helped monitor their compliance with various consent decrees. But I think what provides me a very unique perspective is that in addition to me being an adversary of, say, law enforcement, I've also worked on the same side of the table with them. So I've worked with, say, prosecutors' offices, particularly the state's attorney in Baltimore City, where I helped create a sort of new strategy in which they would provide bail recommendations. And then more recently, I was a consultant to the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, as well as the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department, in their compliance with federal law in terms of protecting inmates from sexual abuse while they're in custody. So that being said, I have a very diverse, what I consider to be well-rounded perspective on what it means to promote public safety in a community, and I hope that I can be a resource to you all in helping you achieve those goals that you have been ordained to do as commissioners of the Social Equity Commission. And I'm excited about the opportunity to collaborate with Nigel Hawley, who I believe you guys all know. Nigel Hawley runs a program at AV High School that is a part of the Public Safety Department that helps truant students overcome the obstacles of truancy and with the goal of getting them on the track to say, go to school, graduate, and be full-fledged, law-abiding citizens. So I hope that we both could be a great resource to you moving forward. And if Nigel, if you have anything to say, feel free.
I'll just speak from here.
I want it to be formal.
First of all, I am proud of this commission. I am excited about the things that you guys are going to be doing moving forward. And being a part of the genesis of this commission, I had an opportunity to meet all of you guys as we were selecting the commission for you guys to become what you are today. Congratulations, Vice Chair, and thank you, former Vice Chair Carter. You were doing an excellent job. I also want to give a thanks to Patty and the staff there. What you can expect from me is transparency, honesty, and someone who will definitely champion your cause and champion the cause of the city of Lancaster. My resume isn't as extensive as my colleagues. However, I have had an opportunity to be the liaison for the Department of Justice, as well as work with the community advisory committees for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I co-founded the organization that championed justice in this community, the Community Action League. I've been on a few different sides of lawsuits with Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, as well as with Los Angeles County as a whole and the Department of Housing. And we were able to successfully win awards in those suits. I do have a passion for the community. I have a passion for all of the community, hence the term equity, an equitable community, and I will be here to continue to champion what's right from what is wrong. Thank you.
Thank you so much, staff. Again, thanks, Patty, and thank you, Ronald. Welcome to this team. And this is all about perspective, and the perspective that you will be able to bring to this commission and to what we do is going to be invaluable. So I'm very excited. And again, Nigel, with all of your work that you've done on equity and justice in this valley, we stand on your shoulders, and we're glad to have you formally a part of the team. So, thank you. Oh, and Karen. Thank you, Karen, as well. I'm so sorry, but honestly, when it came to the work, whenever there's Patty, there's Karen. So, and you guys have been a backbone for our commission, and I'll be calling you. You're not getting rid of us that easily. Okay, so I understand we have another presenter of the home program, Chris from Economic Development. Sir.
Good evening, Commission, and welcome to you, Vice Chair Pope. The first item I want to bring to you is regarding one of our programs that we're hoping to roll out in the summertime, and that is the first-time home buyer program. And basically, it will be a zero-interest loan up to $73,000 for income-eligible homeowners for down payment assistance and closing costs. The maximum price of the home would be $510,000. The homeowner must occupy the house as their principal residence and must attend home buyer workshop and contribute 5% towards the down payment. And in terms of household income, just for an example, to qualify, it's 80% of the area median income. And for a family of four, if you make about $94,600, you could qualify for this program as long as you make under that amount. So with this program, we can cover a wide spectrum of our residents that live here. And we have about $1 million that we're able to use, and so hopefully we can assist at least 17 households, and we can really help people become homeowners. And so I'm looking at releasing the marketing information probably in May, and accepting applications in June, and doing award letters probably in July. And moving to just one of the other programs I wanted to get into real quick is the Home ARP program. And basically this was signed into law last March actually, and it's called the American Rescue Plan Act. And it's basically addresses the impact of COVID. And we were awarded $24 million for that. And the 4 eligible activities could include anything from development of affordable housing, rental assistance, supportive services like housing counseling and homeless services, and also acquisition and development of shelter units. And with this program, the first thing we need to do is put together the allocation plan. And the allocation plan will include community outreach, so we'll be having surveys, we'll be doing stakeholder meetings, workshops, and basically the allocation plan will include an assessment of the unmet needs, an assessment of the gaps in homeless assistance and different services. And again, that's going to be the first step that we do. And in terms of the timeline, we'll definitely be including you all in the outreach and have a special workshop for you guys. And again, we look to have the draft pretty much put together by June and hopefully go to the city council in August. Then HUD needs to approve it. And so we figured by the time it goes through HUD's approval, we hopefully can institute these programs probably by the beginning of next year. And those are the 2 main programs I wanted to bring up. I just wanted to see if you guys had any questions about those programs. We were very excited to get those rolling off, probably, like I said, in the summertime, and really provide really great services for our folks here in the city.
When you say 5% down payment on $510,000, but you also said down payment assistance. Can you just?
Sure. So basically, it's $63,000 for down payment assistance, and then $10,000 could go towards closing costs.
But when you say 5%, that means the city is going to help with that?
The homeowner would need to come up with the 5%.
So still would have to come up with 25. We would still
So-
have to come up with $25,000 cash on a $500,000 home.
Correct. But it is a forgivable loan depending on how long you live there. So, I mean, it will help some of the, some of those folks that, you can also get different assistance for the loans for the 5%. But yeah, that's the contribution that the home funds will provide.
Okay.
So.
You said that, and again, thank you for presenting to us.
You're welcome.
You said 94,000?
600, yes.
For both?
So for both
Husband
programs.
and wife, or 2 partners, or one income?
So if you have a household, yeah, basically that household can't make more than 94,600. The entire household.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Entire household, okay. The second question is, did you say that there was $1 million? There's $1 million to spend in this effort?
Correct. Through the home program.
And that $1 million is to help with the loan assistance?
Correct.
But it's not to help them with the down payment,
That's correct.
which is the same as a conventional loan, because an FHA is 3%. So I'm trying to see, how does this help a home buyer?
Basically,
if we're asking for more than if they were to be qualified for an FHA loan.
right, basically the city or the home program will offer up to 18% of the purchase price. So we're trying to get to that 20% to lower to have no PMI payment as well. So we wanted to structure it so there is some sort of stake for the homeowner to put at least the 5% in.
So they're bringing down the cost of the home, the overall cost, by 18%. Is that what you're saying?
Right. So an example is if it's 400,000, and then the loan actually goes down to 308,000, and then again it is a forgivable, that portion is a forgivable loan after 15 years. So,
What they have paid on the 308.
correct.
Okay. And the last one, you mentioned that you will start marketing in June and taking applications in July. How will that look? Where will it be marketed? How will
We'll put it all on the socials and in the newspaper and Outlook, and we'll do as much. Actually, we're going to be contacting the realtors and also some of the local lenders as well. We want to get as many people involved as we can so they know about the program.
I would just like to ask, I mean, we have some smart people in here. So basically, what we're doing here, it's still better for somebody to go get an FHA loan and easier for them to buy a home than go through this process.
But they still have to pay back that loan. This loan you wouldn't have to pay back if you live in the house for a certain amount of time. So if you sell if you live in the house, if you sell it before the 6 years, you would have to pay the entire amount back. But after the 6th year, then it goes down 10% each year. We're still working out all the details, but it's kind of geared so. Of course, you can't be a flipper, but we want to, it's geared towards. So if you live in the house a certain amount of time, it will be forgivable. But we're still, like I said, we're still working out all the details. But
Chris, do you mind maybe giving a sort of basic level example with like a basic number?
Sure.
To kind of illustrate that the difference between an FHA loan versus this program?
I really don't know the difference.
No, I'm just, or a regular loan program is, my understanding based on what you're saying, is that if you're paying a particular price for a house, you're almost getting a discount. So regardless of what you pay for the house under this program, you're getting a discount that will be forgivable if if you satisfy all of the requirements.
That's the biggest difference. There's no interest on this loan, and it is forgivable.
Also, just to add, the removal of the PMI is quite important, and it saves the home buyer a lot of money. The principal mortgage insurance is based off of any amount that you finance above 80%. So if they are not financing that extra 15%, then that's all money that they'll be saving. And that rate, last I looked at it, which was almost 10 years ago, was 2.75%. So I'm pretty sure it's probably up higher from there.
So you're saying that comes off in the beginning of the loan? Because that was my original question. When does that 20%, which is PMI, come off? Is it?
So PMI through an FHA loan doesn't come off until you refinance the property.
Or pay it down.
Or pay it down, but then you still have to request for it to be removed, is my understanding. With the proposal here, that PMI would not apply to the loan because the loan would be broken into an 80-15-5 loan. 5% from the borrower, 15% from the city, and 80% financed from a conventional bank, I'm assuming.
Okay, and my last question, and I'm going to step up and step back, is will I know you mentioned it would come down after a certain amount of years, 10%. Does the monthly payment adjust, or does the monthly payment stay the same?
That's if you sell the house. So
but if you don't sell the house and you continue living in it, when it adjusts, does the loan payment per month adjust or no?
It would not adjust.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Deloche. Go ahead.
I just want to ask a question about the income cap. And is there a range as far as family size?
Yeah, it's really from we have the scale from 1 to 8. So I have a breakdown of all those different numbers. If you're a family of 3 or 7, there's different. So like if you're a family of 5, it's 102,000. A family of 2, it's 75,000. So we have a breakdown. So we just examine their income, W-2, and everything like that to determine kind of where they're at and who's living in the house. Is it just one head of household, or they're 3?
So this is a conventional loan. You couldn't use this program with FHA?
I don't know.
You
I can find out.
also know that conventional loans takes a higher credit score to even qualify over
Correct.
FHA. So it seems like this program isn't for the homeowners who actually homeowners that are actually struggling trying to buy their first home. This is somebody who has established credit above 620, and it's a conventional loan. FHA is still an easier way to afford a home.
The people that I talk to in other programs, this is how they structure the program, and it seems to work really well in these other jurisdictions. But we can look into some of the
What people are we talking to that works for them?
Well, we have a consultant that's assisting us on this, and this is how they structure these programs for all these other jurisdictions. But we can certainly look into other options if you're recommending.
Yeah, I think I think a good opportunity, and I think what Chris is looking for is maybe some guidance or suggestions.
Yeah, we can definitely look into that.
He has to fit within certain parameters, right? So there are certain things that he has to follow based on where that money is coming from, whether it's federal or whoever it's coming from, right? So while there is some flexibility, there are some things that are just consistent with the funding source. But I think what Chris is looking for, and I think where you guys would could be very helpful is in providing suggestions, ideas. I think, in terms of how we market this to the community, how do we get the word out to more people? What are the key things that we should highlight to encourage people to apply? And I mean, here's the thing, like, we want to provide an option, right? So there are a lot of different options for people, and this is one of them. So we want to introduce this to the public and to the residents to give them that opportunity to look at this and see if it works for them and if it's something that they want to pursue. So that's what I would suggest, is if you have any ideas or suggestions, Chris is all ears.
Yeah, nothing's finalized yet.
Yeah,
so
nothing's
we're
finalized.
still
Exactly. And that's why
we're still
we're
working
here.
out all the details.
Exactly. So if you have any suggestions, or, hey, you know what, I really think we should look at this, it's an opportunity for Chris to go back and say, let me see if this is something that's doable. We can't make any promises, obviously, because, again, he's working within certain parameters, but it's good to talk about those things and to hear other perspectives and other ideas.
Yeah. And I also would like to add, if you don't have suggestions at this present moment, I do know you have a working document for your social equity report. Your subcommittee, or you guys can put this on the agenda for another meeting to discuss what those recommendations might be, or again, to put them in that document so their particular department could be privy to your recommendations on how you would advise them to move forward.
Thank you, Steph, for that clarification. I want to get to Vice Chair Pope for questions.
Yeah, so just really quick, one, thank you so much for your presentation. I do know that one of the things that is looming over all of our heads right now as Californians is a housing crisis. So anything that is going to get us one step forward to eliminating that crisis is welcome. I do definitely, though, agree with Commissioner Joseph's concerns, just like with making sure that this program is geared towards the right people. And since like the purview of people that are first-time home buyers or looking to start their first household with a property that they own, I know that that concern is pretty heavy on all of us. So the first question, and I guess like the most basic question, is how are we looking to make this geared towards like the people, as Commissioner Joseph was mentioning, that would be struggling like with this housing market? Like how exactly is this being geared towards them?
Well, again, basically, we have parameters through the home program, and basically they already set certain standards that we have to follow. And so, we can't lower certain, requirements in terms of your credit score and things like that. So, again, and based on, what people can actually qualify in our market, so we look at all of those parameters, and then we will take a look at, based on, the good thing is LA County has a higher base income. So even though if our median income is at a certain level, it's much higher in LA County overall. So we actually can qualify a lot more folks because we fall under the LA County AMI, area median income. I'm not sure if that's...
Okay, yeah, definitely. That gets us on the right track there. And earlier you were alluding to the fact that the monthly payment would be lower. And so based on the situation that like you suggested earlier, how much lower would that payment be? Like what numbers are we talking about in terms of that?
I'm not sure so much about lower. It's just a zero. There's a zero interest.
Okay.
And it's forgivable. So at a certain point, if you move out within 6 years, you're paying a less percentage back on that loan.
Okay.
So I can come back with some additional details and kind of lay it out a little bit.
Okay.
So more examples, I suppose. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I'm hearing is as we roll out this program, it would be really helpful to have examples, like actual illustrations, right, that show you, and I think the FHA is a good example, right, so we can do a comparison, right? FHA versus this, is there a comparison? Is it two different things? But at least we can clear that up because we know that it's something that maybe people are thinking about, right? So we really want to show, like, this is the value, right? And interest is a big deal, right? So not having to pay interest on something is major. It's a really big deal. So being able to explain why that makes a difference long term, right? So if you're paying interest on something for 10 years versus not paying interest, this is how much you're going to save on that loan, right? So those are the things that I think, that's what I'm hearing would be really helpful as we roll out the program, is just explaining to people what it looks like.
Right. And then also you guys want to be mindful when you guys do your comparison, not having that PMI is huge. You're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.75%, 2.25, 2.75%. Don't quote me on that, but PMI is expensive. And then on top of that, 0% interest on a second. So basically, you're getting money at cost for that second 15%, and the 80% is really what you're only paying interest on. So overall, theoretically, the payment should be lower.
Okay.
What I think we need is the parameters that the feds are giving you, and see how can we work with those parameters to actually help the people who can't. Because with the parameters you're saying, if you can qualify for a conventional loan, you don't need this program. Your credit score is good enough. You can go FHA or anywhere else. What I'm trying to figure out is how do we help the family that's been paying $2,000 a month for rent, but can't afford to save money to actually get that down payment, that can't afford to, that can't afford that.
Right.
To come up with 5% of a $500,000 home is still $20,000. How many families do you know have $20,000? You know what I mean?
Right.
Right, maybe
And I
there's a
think
different
that's-
program for them for this, because again, there's only certain things we can do
Right.
with what
So
we're
we
given.
need to
But I
look
can,
at that program, every fine-tuned comb, because we know how things run in America. What you think you can't do, when you fine-tune and look at the rules, there's something you probably can do. So
So-
that's what I would want, is the parameters that the feds are setting for this money, and see how we can work around, through, or that to actually help the new homeowners.
One second, Ronald. This is great dialogue. Before we move forward, I just want to remind everybody that we're under rules of order. So jumping in is good, and this is a great dialogue, but let's try to be recognized by the chair. So this isn't rapid fire. It's a commission meeting.
and I can definitely come back with more information and
Absolutely, and I
provide you more
believe
details.
Chris, that what the purpose of this presentation is the starting point, and that from now moving forward, we will be able to provide those recommendations and to work with you in the department on how to reach our individual goals as commissioners, and how we can do that within your parameters. Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. I do have questions of my
Sure.
own. When you talked about the outreach, you talked about the allocation plan. From my understanding, again, that is one of the things, the target with that is one of the things that our commissioner will have the opportunity to have input and recommendations on,
Absolutely.
correct?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You mentioned that you mentioned something about helping renters as well. We're talking a lot about homeowners and homeownership.
Right.
Is there any apparatus, is there any way or room in this, in your parameters, where there can be assistance for renters, specifically people who are looking to rent to buy?
Basically the rental assistance, I mean, it's geared towards the very low, so that would be the 30% and below AMI. So yeah, we can definitely assist those folks. And again, that would be, I mean, that's, again, a family of four, if we're looking at, that would be all the way, they can make up to $35,000.
Right.
And they could qualify for rental assistance, because again, this program is geared towards the homeless and the housing insecure. So
Thank
it's
you.
definitely geared towards the other side.
Thank you. And in regards to the FHA loans or any other types of assistance that these particular citizens are looking for, can they double up? Is it disqualifying for folks to go through this program if they're already in another program that is providing assistance for them to help get a loan?
Not that I know of. This is pretty much on. We had a rental assistance program with the state and the county, and then this would be run actually by the city. So
Okay.
it would be a separate program, which we can cover all of the rent costs.
Got you. And when it comes to, so are we going to have a draft with the literature of the outlines mailed to us, or I would like to have something for us that is sent to every commissioner so that we can review it as well. But I would also like to have meetings in a different setting as well with you and other commissioners, barring any Brown Act violations. We'll be careful. So there's going to be an opportunity for that.
Right. What I was envisioning, and where we would have outreach and a workshop, so we would get your input first and then put together the draft and then come back to you with the draft and see if you have any other comments or input.
Thank you so much, Chris, and I really appreciate this presentation.
You're welcome.
Yes. Oh, Commissioner Pope has one more thing.
Sure.
Yes, so just like really quick, I know that for all of us like working in our respective fields, that making sure that the people that like need to get like this sorts of information or like need to be like submitting feedback or whatnot, we need to make sure that like there is a way for them to like provide input. So just like two other of my questions are, do you know like what the application like process might look like for this?
Not yet. Are you you're talking about the home ARP?
Huh?
Right? You're talking about the home ARP process. So
Yes.
It's too soon to know just yet. Once we know where those funds are going to be allocated, we'll probably set forth of some sort of RFP process where request for proposals, where we will document what programs we're going to fund and then ask if there's service providers out there that want to apply for that program.
Okay, awesome. And then just lastly, and I know that Chairman Cannon had already alluded to this just a little bit earlier, but like once we're finished today, is there a way to get like a copy of like the presentation that you were reading from like sent to us?
I just have scribbles on notes. But I can definitely follow up with you all. If you have any other questions or any other information you want from me, I can definitely provide that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think that we'll be able to discuss this in our subcommittee working group as well.
Absolutely. I would be interested, because this is something that is directly tied into what we have put in our equity report.
Absolutely.
Those meetings that I mentioned earlier, we would love for you to meet with the subcommittee on the equity report, because that's very important. Thank you again, Chris.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get to our next presenter, again, this is exactly what we are talking about in our equity report. And sometimes when we recommend things, we don't even know that some things are already in the works.
Exactly.
However, equity, this is where we come in to engage with Chris, engage with the Housing Development Department on our personal goals, so that when it's rolled out, it is something that we're all looking forward to. So again, Chris, thank you. And I believe we have another. Do we have another presenter?
I don't think so.
Hidoki. So let's move on to continued business. Continued discussion and possible action regarding the draft of the equity report containing recommendations for the City Council. First and foremost, like I said, I think that we should definitely, before we get the equity report to the City Council, I think we should pull the section when we talked about the program for support for first-time homeowners and renters, pull that pending the rollout of the home program, because what we don't want to do is to be seen that we're trying to rival something that is already seems to be on a great track. And so even if let's pull that from the draft pending the rollout. That is my recommendation for the commission. We could obviously vote on that, but that's just where I'm at. And when it comes to the equity report, I did go over it a little bit, and there are some things that I think needed to be added. However, there's some things that I've been hearing that I would like to address. Since we started, and when we started rolling out ideas, and even in the beginning stages with brainstorms, a lot of the feedback that I got from folks all over, it's a kind of recurring theme, this term low-hanging fruit. And so I just would like to go over our equity report and highlight some of the things in our equity report that I believe are sustainable, that I believe is something that we should take a look at as a commission, and that I don't believe is necessarily a win for this commission, but a win for the community. I don't like the term low-hanging fruit. I'm going to be honest. I don't like that term low-hanging fruit because the fruits of equity grow at the top of the tree. And so I do understand making sure that we grapple things that are sustainable and that are something that we could do to get immediate relief. But let's remember, the fruit that grows at the bottom of the tree rots fastest. And so that being said, we have a lot of things in our equity report that, I consider to be sustainable. First and foremost, when it comes to public safety, remember that we had a recommendation that the office of the public safety director shall be separate from the office of the police chief. That seems like pretty low-hanging fruit to me. When we talked about moving forward in garnering.
Commissioner Cannon?
Yes.
Do you mind if I ask you a question? Could you clarify
Sure.
what that means?
One more time?
Would you clarify what that means?
Which
The
part?
public safety director should be separate from the sheriff's department?
Absolutely. Let me give a little bit of
Or
background.
what your understanding of what those two entities are?
Absolutely. Let me give a little background. So in a city council meeting, when we had our previous public safety director was named as acting police chief. Moving forward, if a position of police chief is going to be created and appointed, I do not believe, and it is outlined in this report, the commission does not believe that the police chief and the public safety director should be the same person. And the rationale for that is outlined in the equity report for us to see. But again, that is something, that is simple and easy. And also, it goes into how do we reimagine public safety?
Commissioner Cannon, may I pose a
Absolutely.
question for you? I would advise that the commission do background research on the distinction between the public safety director being a police chief and the captain of the sheriff's department, and how their roles are distinctively different. And even with that title, the sheriff's department serves a different purpose. So again, my advice would be for each of the commissioners to do background research on what those roles and responsibilities are, regardless of what title someone may have been given in terms of their policing the community, to give you guys a better understanding that might allow you to differently understand, say, your recommendation. It may be posed in a different way once you get a better understanding of what each entity is and what they do.
Thank you, Ronald. And again, I have done research, and I think I pretty much understand what the roles of a police chief are and what the roles of a public safety director are. And I understand that the roles of a public safety director are more and all-encompassing of that would be the roles of a police chief. There's more that goes into public safety than just policing. And so if we're going to make somebody a police chief as a city, a recommendation for the city council from this commission would be that the person that is our public safety director not be the police chief. And I'm not necessarily closed off to saying, and it is in my personal view, I'm not saying this is the view of the commission, I'm not averse to, and in other cities they have done this, having the captain of the sheriff's department be our police chief. I'm not averse to that, and I think that is a recommendation that I have, but it's something that other cities have already done as well. And so, again, when we're talking about policing and we're talking about the hybrid law enforcement model and things like that, we have to make sure that when we're doing things as a city, that we're making it clear to the public that we do not consider policing to be the epitome of public safety, and we do not consider public safety as just policing. There's other things that encompass it. And so as a commission and as a subcommittee, we can definitely dive into that and make sure that we articulate that in the best way that we can. But again, in our equity report, we want to make sure that the public understands what hybrid law enforcement model is, what co-produced policing is, and what is the difference between a police chief and a public safety director.
Commissioner Cannon, if I may.
Yeah, 1 second. When it comes from, this comes from the community. And so the community's desire is that we do not have a public safety director that is also the police chief, but we have a police chief and a public safety director. How we get to that is going to be determined through all of us. And how we articulate the response to the community is going to be something that's going to come from all of us. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I just want to say that the report hasn't been finalized yet. I think that we should work on finalizing the report before we present it publicly, and discussing those matters on the report may be a little premature.
I understand that, and we are discussing the draft. It hasn't been finalized yet. But we have talked about it in public meetings, and so the internal parts of it, we will talk about internally, and the public parts of it, we've already gone over this in public meetings already before. But again, we're talking about this term low-hanging fruit, and that is one of the things that I consider to be low-hanging fruit. And so I would like to know, and moving forward, and there's other things in this report that are like that. So moving forward, if anybody, and this is to not just people in this room or people in this city, but the outside recommendations that we get as well. If anybody has any plans, any specific recommendations on something that they consider to be low-hanging fruit, we are open to that. We're all open to all of that. However, until that happens, this equity report is as low as this commission is willing to go at this point. And so, that being said, I do have something that I would like the commission to consider to add to that draft, or at least to direct the subcommittee to come back to us with that addition to our draft equity report. Recently, I just completed 24 hours of ride-alongs in different shifts with our sheriff's department. And boy, our sheriff's department needs immediate relief. What that looks like is obviously going to be determined by the city council. But part of that is, think of the city of Lancaster and all of our surrounding unincorporated sister cities and all that stuff. Think of all that turf that needs to be covered. We have 2 sheriffs on the east side, 2 sheriffs on the west side, and 2 sheriffs that are traffic sheriffs. And a lot of the times on their shift are eaten up from getting from point A to point B. And a lot of times what I've heard from our deputies as well is a lot of times they're responding to calls that they can't do anything about. And I think that the biggest issue is that people don't know when to call the police. People don't know what to do when they call the police, because a lot of times our sheriff's departments are responding to calls and there's no follow-up. And I think that, as most issues, the best way to solve this is through education. And so we've talked about, outreach and public service announcements about what co-produced policing means, but I think also we should look at how can we partner with the Sheriff's Department, with the City of Lancaster, with public safety, with other community organizations, whether it be the NAACP or the Community Advisory Council for the Lancaster Station. How do we create a public service campaign that lets people know when to call, when you're trying to call for help, who do I call? Why am I calling? And what do I do after I call? I think that is important. I think that's something we should look at. And an action item that I'm asking the commission to consider is to direct the subcommittee to come back to us with a draft to go into the equity report after we've been able to talk to the parties involved. I've been able to talk to the captain about this. I've talked to members of the CAC about this, and they agree that this is something that does need to be addressed. So I'm hoping we can move. I'm looking forward to moving forward in that partnership and seeing what that looks like.
Commissioner Cannon?
Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the things that we have talked a little bit about is the duplication of efforts, and I am right there with you, that in order to have a more transparent understanding of public safety and making sure that it works for everyone, I know that there are opportunities in the community for folks to get involved with understanding how the Sheriff's Department works. And so I was on Instagram the other day just like looking through like community events and whatnot and seeing like which ones needed to be attended and whatnot. And there was something that caught my eye. And it is basically a program through the Palmdale and Lancaster Sheriff Station. And they are hosting a community academy. It will be an 8-week class. That meets Tuesday evenings and is completely free to the public. There are 50 applications, 50 spots open, and it runs starting April 19th, 2022 through June 7th, 2022, and this, again, is run in conjunction with the Lancaster and Palmdale Sheriff Stations. And those classes basically go over the Sheriff's Department, how things work and whatnot, patrol procedures, the mental evaluations, traffic operations, narcotics and dangerous drugs, gangs investigations, arsons and explosives detail, an 8-hour ride-along with the deputy, and a 1-hour tour of the custody facilities in Castaic. The reason that I bring this up is because I know that per our job. One of the things that we want to do is make public safety more transparent to everyone that's involved in the city. And so I want to make sure that when we're talking about things like this, that there isn't necessarily the duplication of efforts. And so I know that this recently is an experience that you had with the Sheriff's Department where you were able to understand how it is functioned and how it is governed. And so for anyone that is listening that wants to learn more about the Sheriff's Department, I would definitely encourage them to look into this. Just because I know that that is something that would allow them to, again, be able to understand the ins and outs of how that works. So if there are concerns that they would like to bring to us or what have you about how things function or whatnot, we could be a liaison in that front.
I am. Thank you, Commissioner Pope, for bringing that up. As a member of the Lancaster Station's CAC, these community academies are so very important, and we do want to. I thank you looking into that. I hope that when we come back with the subcommittee, that we have something in there or how we could, because we're talking about a PSA campaign. So how can we get more outreach to let more people know? But that being said, when it comes to the duplication of efforts, the difference between what I'm talking about and the community academy is pretty much access. The community academy is limited to its space, how many people can be a part of the community academy, as well as when the community academy meets, because the community academy meets on Tuesday nights, and they end at 9 p.m. And so that being said, that's why it's important for us to continue to work closely with the Sheriff's Department, with the CAC, and with Captain Lecravane to develop a PSA campaign where we can get brochures made, where we can get this is what this could look like, where we could do social media outreach and let people know that, if you are calling for help, this is what you should do. This is how you're going to help our Sheriff's Department when they're coming to you, know what's going on. This is how you can help kind of alleviate some of the calls that are coming in, because this isn't a sheriff call, this is this organization call. And so when it comes to the duplication of efforts, it's more of a little bit more of support. It will reach more people, and it is targeted in a way where it's like, okay, when do I call the police? And it also will get into to stop 911 abuse. And a lot of people don't know when they're abusing 911. A lot of people don't even know that, I need the police. I know I need the police. I know I need the Sheriff's Department. But a lot of them don't know that, okay, I'm calling 911 for this, but maybe I should call the sheriff, the hotline, not the hotline, the station number instead. And so absolutely, we want to make sure we're not duplicating efforts. And I think that when we work closely with and they're already ready to go, when we work closely with the Sheriff's Department, we can come up with something good. And it's important for people to know who to call, when to call, and what to do after you call. Another thing that I wanted to address when it came to the equity report as well was another PSA campaign that could go with this or simultaneously, however we decide that is the best way to do it. But it also came up at the town hall, the CAC town hall yesterday. And sometimes this is a little bit of a hard issue for me to talk about because I have lost loved ones to this issue. And you probably have as well. Street racing. Street racing and dangerous vehicular activities that too often victimize our peers. Mm-hmm. And it is important and incumbent upon us as peers to step up and hold each other accountable. And there are ways, and we talked about, how can we deputize these young people for misinformation and stuff like that, but how do we make sure that we are promoting safety and training our young people on how they can talk to their peers about street racing, about speeding, about driving without a seatbelt, and how we can get that online. And so I came up with an acronym. We don't have to come with this acronym, but just snap it. Just snap your seatbelt. And that acronym is SNAP, safety, seatbelts, helmets, whatever the vehicle safety is. Do you need a ride? Hey, we've taken a few shots, and we might be under the influence of X, Y, and Z. Maybe we should get a ride share. Or, hey, I didn't do anything today. Let me give you a ride. Instilling that mentality into our young people so they can go out and get to each other. And take action, the A, action. No, I'm not getting in that car. You've been drinking. you need to put your seatbelt on. If you don't put your seatbelt on, then I can't ride with you, or something to that effect. There's something that we could do as young people, as our peers, and any young person that is listening right now, you know what I'm talking about. Some of us will listen to each other more than we'll listen to our parents, more than we'll listen to somebody from the city, and more than we'll listen to an adult figure in our lives. And the last letter in the acronym, which I think is the most important, and really the overall focus of what this would be, peer pressure. Some peer pressure is good. And so if we can instill some type of peer pressure in where we could be like, hey, that's not cool. We're not going to race that guy. Like, you're going to race. It's not cool. Because right now it seems like it's pretty cool to do a takeover. It's pretty cool to do that. But what's not cool is having to go home to tell someone's mom that so-and-so isn't coming home because of an accident that could have been prevented. And I think it's important for us to take a look at that and to see if there's a way we can start a PSA campaign targeted at our youth, at our young people, to get it up and running. And partnerships. We want to partner. Again, we want to partner with community organizations and other community entities, specifically the Sheriff Station, NAACP, and their other community equivalents, the City of Lancaster, and more importantly, the Impact Group. We have a network of young people in the City of Lancaster already that can help us see what this looks like, that can help us develop this campaign and help us get it out there to more young people. It's so very important. The street racing is putting lives at risk. Driving without a seatbelt puts lives at risk. And dangerous vehicular activities with young people is putting the community and public safety at risk. So let's do something about it. Good.
So just something very quickly that I do have to say on that matter. So during the pandemic, there were not a lot of people that were driving on the roads. There was a stay-at-home order that was released at like the very first stage of the pandemic, and it was like, if you are not an essential worker and you are not going out to get groceries or to take care of a loved one, please do not leave your house. And so when that happened, there were not a lot of people that were on the roads. Like, generally, people obeyed those rules, and there were not a lot of people on the roads. As such, people got used to driving in increased speeds because nobody was on the roads. And so one of the things that, when we're talking about, again, like the duplication of efforts and whatnot, one of the things that I would be interested in hearing, like from the city, is how speed limits can affect, for example, how many people are getting into accidents or whatnot. And the reason that I bring that up is because now that there are more people on the roads and whatnot, the speed limits, I don't believe, have been adjusted for that. And so if there is a way to, for us to understand potentially like how accidents could be prevented or whatnot in regards to that, I would be interested in hearing that. Just because there are so many of our peers that have been lost to like accidents and whatnot, and frequently like at night, at like 12 o'clock at night, I hear like people racing on the streets, and then I hear a crash. And that is the last thing that somebody wants to go to sleep hearing, is like hearing somebody speed, somebody race, and then like they crash. Or the speed limits not being adjusted to people being on the roads, and then, again, somebody get into an accident or crashing. And so I know that I'm not necessarily privy to any sort of that information about like traffic speeds or whatnot, and I realize that that's a nerdy and geeky topic, but I would definitely just be interested in knowing potentially like in the future through a city department or whatnot, how exactly we could assist in curbing some of those accidents per campaign that you are talking about.
Thank you. Before we entertain any motions, are there any other commissioners that would like to say anything on this topic?
Yeah, I would like to say, so when we talk about, the education of people knowing who to call when times are rough, police, do you call the police? That could be solved simply as who they call, being able to facilitate that call. That's a sheriff call. Let me send that 911 call over here to the sheriff. Let me send this call over here to the MET team. We can educate the people as much as possible, but some people just don't listen. So if the 911 call is not where they're supposed to call, then we need to instruct 911 where to direct those. Though that's a simple solve of that influx of call. The other thing about street racing and things like that, we got too much land out here, and cars go fast. People are going to drive. Now, what we should be trying to do is figure out a track that people can actually take that car if you want to drive it fast to go do that. Then, I mean,
Willow
Roseman, I
Springs
think,
Raceway.
has one somewhat. Fresno has something like that. But, like, that is at least something for kids or whoever wants to drive that car as fast. That's a safe environment for you to do it. If there's no safe environment for you to do it, they're going to use the back roads like they've been doing, you know? So those are solution-oriented is like I would like to, you know, just put a solution to it.
It's not, it won't come from us. I mean, if we really want to make an impact on that issue, and whether you're on the track or whether you're on the streets, if we really want to make an impact on vehicular safety, it's going to have to come from these people's peers. It's going to have to, even though that we're doing so much other things, it's going to have to come from, for some people, it's going to have to come from a friend saying, that's not cool, you know? Go ahead.
Oh, one of the things that I'm wondering about as far as the 911 calls, are these necessarily 911 calls? Can we implement something like a 511 where people can call that number and talk to someone who then can triage to the right agency, the appropriate agency?
Right, so there is other numbers that you can call. There is a 211 number where you would think that people would call that number for certain things, but instead they call 911. There are other entities for you to call. So this is what's important about, this is what would be important about this PSA. Something that can point folks in the right direction, something that is, you know, targeted in a way where folks can just look at a brochure and say, okay, this is what's happening, this is who I call. Or they can remember that they went to that town hall, that CAC town hall, and they talked about that. And when it comes to the dispatch, I think you were talking about, getting us our way, no matter what, and this, I heard this from the sheriff's department, no matter what, it's going to come to the sheriff's department anyway. And so what's important as well is to make sure when people do call 911 that they know what to say, that they know what's happening, that they know how to communicate with 911, not just say, hey, there's some guy on the ground, he looks like he's not breathing by. You know, where is that guy on the ground? Where were you at? Are you still there? And letting people know what to do. Stick around if you can. Follow up when you can, because that's important, and it takes time away from our deputies doing things to be able to continue to keep our community safe. That takes time away from that. And so this is a way where we could give people the education so that they can hold themselves accountable.
Commissioner Cannon?
Yes.
May I suggest to the council again to do additional research? It's my understanding that the Los Angeles County Alternatives to Incarceration Office is creating a similar type number of which you guys have been discussing, where people would be able to call in instances where the police would not necessarily need to respond. And by police, I mean armed police officers, as opposed to other entities that could respond to, say, some type of mental health crisis or other types of things. So again, I advise you to do additional research, particularly the Los Angeles County Alternatives to Incarceration Department office, and gather more information before you decide to make a particular recommendation.
Absolutely. So again, let's be clear, and we're going to put this to the committee for a vote. Let's be clear about what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we should create a number. What I'm saying is that we do a public service announcement campaign on who to call, when to even call 911, and just to call the sheriff's station, and other things like that. So this is not setting up anything. The recommendation is to do this public service campaign. That's the recommendation that we would be directing. So I would like to make a motion if there's no other comments on this issue.
So my comments are simply, I like the idea, and I would support it and even make the motion as long as there is a virtual component that lives somewhere to where a person can click on it, whether it's on our website, whether it's on the city's website, so that a person could access it. Because a lot of us are visual learners, and this is something that needs to live somewhere other than on a piece of paper that everyone wouldn't have access to. So I think that's a good idea, so I would not mind making the motion. But before I make the motion, my other question is for the subcommittee, And that is, at what intervals will we be getting feedback from the subcommittee? Because it's my understanding that we've given the subcommittee the draft to continue to work on and massage, but at what intervals will we get it so that we can see the progress? Because Mr. Chatter said that we shouldn't speak about it and throw it out in public, but when will the commission get drafts to?
Correction, I did not say that.
Can you
I
repeat?
said, there was a suggestion was provided that not to speak about the draft or the working report prematurely, particularly some of your recommendations. But I did not say that you cannot discuss it publicly. That's what these meetings are for. If you want to hash out, renegotiate, or talk about specific recommendations or specific issues in that report, this is the opportunity for you to do that.
And to your point, Commissioner Deloche, excuse me. To your point, that's exactly what I had in mind, for it to be on the sheriff station's website, the city's website, the CAC's website, and any other websites we can get it on. NAACP, that's why those partnerships are so important. And so, again, if you would want to
Make the motion?
Yeah.
Chairman Cannon,
Yeah.
may I interrupt?
Go ahead.
We actually don't need a motion to move this forward, right?
So-
So this is hold on one second. This is an open discussion, and this is an opportunity for you to direct your subcommittee to continue to add. You can work on this, right? You can say,
Okay.
I would like to direct the subcommittee to add this or to do some research to add this as a component of the existing Social Equity Commission report.
So we don't have to vote on that
No.
direction. So
Sorry, I was just trying to get
Subcommittee?
that out there to everybody.
You are so directed. And again, before 1 second, Commissioner Carter, to your point about the draft of the subcommittee, the draft that is now that has already been out and that was presented to our commission, that's what the subcommittee has put out. And so now what we're looking for now is more feedback from staff and what we're doing right now to be able to finalize that and massage that. And so when we're talking about these additions and giving the subcommittee that, then they could go ahead and put that in. When we're talking about the home program and taking that off and pending what that would look like to see if that's exactly what we're recommending, like that. And so we have what the subcommittee has already given the commission something. We've already talked about it, and that is our working document. So go ahead.
So I just have a couple of clarifications I want to make or get more input on. What you were saying regarding the PSAs, Sean, what I understand is that you recognize and we recognize that we do have these resources and sources available, but the main thing is, does the public know that? And so it makes sense that we do some type of advertisements or put it out there so that public is aware, and we provide them with the awareness, because we can have the resources in place, but if there's no awareness of those resources, they don't get utilized, and we don't serve the public like we're trying to do. So that's my understanding of that, is really the emphasis is on making this public, making our public understand these resources are available. And so I'm going to finish with that topic, and then to Commissioner Deloche's, what he said, and I would like to make a recommendation about how we proceed with updating any of the documents that we all have input. And I think that I know that there's a Brown Act. I'm not real well versed on that, but I do know that as we are working on these documents in intervals, that we share it somehow. If we can share it along the way, over each week, every so many days, whenever there's an update, it's shared so that all commissioners are able to chime in and be a part of just closing that out with the finished version. But just we're working on it in intervals together with input from all of the members of the commission.
Commissioner Cannon?
Thank you,
May I?
Commissioner Carter.
So in terms of the report, the working subcommittee, I don't know exactly who is on that subcommittee, but I believe it's 3 of you guys. You guys can meet outside of this meeting to discuss that particular report, make those refinements, and then bring that to the larger group at your next meeting to have more in-depth discussions as a group, and then, if need be, to vote on finalizing those particular recommendations or courses of actions within that particular report or that section.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, I want to make sure I understand and be clear. So I'm thinking as we're working on it, instead of just getting one big data dump information and the subcommittee puts it together and at the end present it along the way until our next meeting as we are, refining it,
So,
we can get input.
You can't outside of the subcommittee, so you do not violate the Brown Act.
Okay.
No more than 3 of you guys can discuss the report or the section outside of this monthly general meeting.
Okay.
So any larger discussion that will require all of the other commissioners would have to be done for the public to participate and view.
Thank you. So, the subcommittee has its direction. We have gotten all this input, and so, but I think we meet again after April. So definitely before the next meeting, something will be finalized, and by the next meeting, we would. Go ahead.
Commissioner or Chairman Kemen, so that was one thing that I wanted to bring up very briefly. So it says on the agenda that our next meeting will be on Wednesday, May 18th.
Correct.
Will we not be having a meeting in April?
No, there is the election, so the
Okay.
city will be going dark to count the votes.
Okay.
The election is the day before.
Okay.
Literally takes place in this chamber.
Can
So-
we publicly say when that election is? Because there's not a lot of advertisement going on about this upcoming election. I see April 12th. Will the city put up a sign, Steve Owens Park, participate in your city's election April 12th? I mean, all you see is the signs of council members. A lot of us don't even know when the election is going to happen. It's kind of the same thing that's been going on in this city yearly about elections. People don't even know about it.
So it is actually printed in the newspaper. It is posted on the city's website. Communications is working with the city clerk department to make sure that notice is put out there. Ballots and voter information guides have just gone out. So everything is, all going out first. But I'll definitely give notice that you feel that there needs to be more attention brought to it. Let communications know.
Even just something as simple as flyers that we can pass around, even your kids. I can give my kids at school. He takes it home he's got kids he goes to school with that their parents don't even know when the election is. You know what I mean? Like, we can distribute them at school when kids picking up their parents. We need more participation in these elections.
So there's a certain amount of advertising that we can do because it's a non-biased environment, but there are, candidates can definitely take action and put the word out there because we are restricted to a certain level of what we can and can't do. But yes, I will also do it.
Can we get a description of those, just like with him with the parameters that the feds are allowing this money to be used, the parameters that the city of Lancaster can advertise an election? Can we put it on the billboard at Steve Owens Park, that election, April 12th? You know what I mean? Just simple things like that, just community awareness.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Joseph, are you requesting that the commission be provided that information from the city?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually all posted on our website, but I'll send you guys all the links as well.
Thank you. I have a question. You don't have to answer this now. You probably don't know the answer. But is the billboard that is in front of Steve Owens Park, is that owned by the city, or is that private? The electric billboard, or is that privately owned? Okay. Thank you.
It's a Lamar billboard.
Thanks. Just something that popped in my head. Okay. So, are there any speakers for CB1?
There are no speakers at this time for CB1.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to public business from the floor.
This is a time to address the Lancaster Social Equity Commission on non-agendized matters. Speaker cards can be found on the back table of the council chambers, and for anyone participating telephonically and wishing to comment on non-agendized items, please press star 9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your call-in number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. State law prohibits the commission from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Please press star 9 at this time. Caller with the last 4 digits, 5954. You are
Hi,
unmuted.
everybody.
Thank you. We can hear you.
Great. So my name is Roger, and I'm 29 years old. I've lived in Lancaster for the last 10 years. I'm speaking today because I was made aware of a plan of support for first-time homeowners and renters outlined in the Equity Report. Being a homeowner has been such a rewarding experience for me and has taught me so much. I am also grateful for the prospect of building generational wealth in my family, as so owning property does for you. Coming from a family who lacked the knowledge and professional resources, I remember how difficult it was navigating the housing market and experiencing all the uncertainties and setbacks that went with purchasing a home. I feel that with more targeted public outreach and access to education on these topics, my peers will be able to successfully navigate the path to homeownership, as I did eventually. I'm also grateful and greatly anticipating the support for renters that I saw outlined in the Equity Report. Because as a homeowner who still remembers what it was like to be a renter, I understand the importance of things like building rental history, and I've seen how hard it is for people to successfully navigate the rental process and actually find housing. So I applaud the Commission for its diligence in recognizing these inequities and strongly urge the City Council to consider this Equity Report and move forward with the program. The incentives that are outlined will not only help me navigate homeownership all that much better, but it should absolutely lift others to a point where housing is attainable and maintainable. So I really appreciate everything that is outlined in that, and just wanted to make that vocal. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other callers?
There are no additional callers at this time.
Okay. Heather Vardon?
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Heather Vardon, Community Relations Coordinator for LAHSA, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. And I just wanted to thank both the City of Lancaster as well as this commission for helping with the Los Angeles Greater Homeless Count, which happened last month. I know Commissioner Pope came out and counted very early at 6 a.m. I also wanted to thank Commissioner Joseph for all of the coordination with the special teams in the area to help have a successful count. Also, I wanted to bring up homes and homelessness. And from the last report that we have from the homeless count, the housing inventory report in this area, there's just not a lot of affordable housing. Since this is the Equity Commission, I wanted to kind of just bring that up. The last homeless count in 2020, there were 4,755 people experiencing homelessness in Service Planning Area 1, and we need homes to put them in. And that's all. That's all that I have. Thank you.
I had a super quick question for you, actually. Is it okay if I do that now, or do I have to wait? Oh, okay. So I remember we had a conversation and we were talking about a meeting that should be attended by some of our commissioners in regards to, I believe it was like share function or housing. Do you remember what that conversation was?
There's the Homeless Coalition, which is directly before this meeting, so it should be very easy for you guys to remember. It is on the third Wednesday of every month from 3 to 5 p.m. It's the Homeless Coalition. I can make sure that Patty has the link to that to send to you guys, or
awesome.
whoever I need to send. Ronald. I'll make sure he has the link. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I have one quick question. What is it, are we lacking in facilities as far as homes, or is it the affordability that's?
It is absolutely both right now. There was a series of emergency housing vouchers that have been issued to people that are currently living on the streets, and they're having a hard time finding places to rent. So they have vouchers in hand, but we can't find landlords for them to rent in this area.
Are landlords given incentives or anything to?
There are incentive programs, including things like double deposits down. Los Angeles County has the homeless incentive, the HIP program, homeless incentive program, which offers things like double deposits for people that are renting to people experiencing homelessness through these voucher systems. There's just not the inventory. We're having a hard time finding apartments, places for single individuals to get off the streets. We're also seeing the rents increase, and even with these vouchers, these people cannot attain home ownership, even though we're seeing in the Antelope Valley, it's cheaper for you to buy a house and make a mortgage payment than it is to rent in a lot of cases. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you so much, Heather. Miss Demina Reese? Demia, I'm sorry about that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Demia Reese. Thanks for letting me come and talk to you guys. Never been here before and not sure what to do or how it goes, but here's my spiel. Okay, so you guys were talking a lot about public service announcements. I'm the founder of an agency called Unalienable Rights, and I provide resources and linkages to the community. And one of the things that I wanted to do, I wanted to see if this committee would be willing to secure the Lancaster City Park for a back-to-school community event at the end of July, where everybody's invited. MHA, LASA, Valley Oasis, all the agencies out here. I used to work out in this area, and I no longer work out here, but I still do community service out here. So I just wanted to know if you guys would be willing to do that. Like, most of my funding comes out of my pocket, so that's my spiel. That's it. That's all I got.
Ma'am, so if you provide me your contact information, I can follow up with you with possibly the city having a meeting with you to discuss that in more detail.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reese, for that information. Are there any other speaker cards? Okie dokie. Commissioner comments? Any comments from the commission? Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So just a few brief things. We talked a lot today about the work that our subcommittee is going to be doing. And so that is going to especially cover housing and speeding and like raceways. But one of the other things that I wanted to ask was I know that in our commission meetings, a lot of times we're talking about like certain issues or whatnot. But one of the concerns that was echoed today was the fact that like other members of the commission that are not a part of the subcommittee are not able to necessarily be privy to the process of us doing like the equity report, because like we wanted to like make sure that we were meeting those deadlines in a timely manner. So one of the things that I just want to ask is like if this next meeting that we are going to be having in May could be devoted to partially that being a working meeting in regards to our equity report.
I don't see why not.
Okay, awesome. So that's just like very brief. The second question that I have, and this is for all of our commissioners, do any of you have your badges today? The ID cards that we were given when we first started our term? If somebody could just pull that out right quick, I have a point in this. Okay, awesome. Okay. Let me just see that for a second. So on the back of this card, it says emergency responder. During a local major emergency, this employee is permitted access to city limits and designated place of assignment. Thank you. I think that that is a very important responsibility that we've been given, and over the past few months, as concurrent crises have unfolded in our country, in our state, and in our community. One of the things that I was thinking about is emergency training. And how I don't believe any of us have received emergency training on how to handle local city emergencies. And I know that if we are given a task in order to be a liaison for our community to get out of a local emergency, I was wondering if it would be possible for us to have a training that all commissioners, or at least all of our commissioners, must take in order to just like continue their service on this equity commission, because we have had to have ethics training before. And I know that all of us remember the ethics training, but I'm not sure that all of us have had emergency response training. So if there was any like city department that would be able to help us with that, I would definitely be interested in that.
Is that ready, Lancaster, or?
Yeah, actually, Commissioner Pope, can I provide some feedback?
Absolutely.
So the badge that you all received is a standard human resources badge.
Yeah.
The actual first responder, that responsibility, that role falls on city staff. So
Okay.
as commissioners, you're not expected to be first responders. It's just, we so happen to have that badge that we're using universally, but that actual job doesn't apply to any of you.
Okay.
But could we still receive that training?
Yeah, still receive that training.
We'll have to follow up.
Okay.
It's not standard practice. It's not something that anybody aside from the first responders, which are the city staff, would participate in. Yeah.
What about the program that is for the community? I think it's called
CERT?
CERT, yeah, CERT.
Yeah, I think CERT is available to anyone in the community.
Right,
So
okay.
actually, that's a really good suggestion, Commissioner, or Chairman, I'm sorry. That's a good suggestion. It's something that is available to everyone in the community. So if you are interested in that, having a better understanding of first response, what their roles and responsibilities are, that I would direct you to that program.
Okay, awesome. And then last but not least, I know that for Black History Month, we, as a city, did a sort of initiative or campaign where we talked about some of the local leaders that are instrumental in helping our community and making sure that people were able to see themselves being represented by people just like in their community and in city leadership alike, both exactly, standing on the shoulders of. Both Nigel and I were a part of that program, and that was amazing. And I know that looking forward, we have Juneteenth coming up, which is something that I know is going to be somewhat of a priority for us. So I just wanted to start floating us thinking about what sort of things we might want to do for Juneteenth. And then additionally, I think it would also be advantageous for our commission to have a calendar of like the historical months that happen like each year so that we know how to respond to them. So Black History Month was one. For example, Women's History Month is occurring now, so would like to recognize Women's History Month. And then we also have Pride Month coming up in June. I know that there are several other months that I'm missing in between that. But I think that us just starting a document or some sort of calendar for us to have a response or officially recognize each of those months, I think will go very far in terms of representation, and that can just be one small win that we are all taking, making sure that we are recognizing the diversity of our community and of our country, and recognizing those different historical months in the process. And those are all my comments.
Have that sort of calendar already? Because it seems like when those months come around, I see stuff on Facebook. So I'm sure the city already.
Yeah, we definitely have a calendar of events.
Okay.
I think that what you're talking about specifically was facilitated by our communications department. And I think they do look at women's history and all these different events to change up, I guess, what we do in terms of our marketing. It's not always just city things, but also other things. So I believe so. We'd have to check with them to.
Okay. So just on Vice Chair Carter's point, if there's a way that we could, any way that we as a commission could see what the city's already going to do for these different months, be interested in that. Vice Chair.
I was like, did I get a last name change all
I am so sorry.
They can see
I am so sorry.
You're good.
Commissioner Cannon, may I?
Yes.
So you guys have repeatedly mentioned the frustration you have with being able to meet in unison to discuss the report. It was brought to my attention that you can have something what's called a study session, and you guys can meet as a commission. That meeting would have to be open to the public. So if that meeting occurred, say, down the street at a restaurant or Starbucks library or whatnot.
Can we look into possibly American Heroes Park? Yeah, okay.
Okay. So again, you can have that at a park. It would have to be publicized so that the public can participate and at least listen in on what you guys are discussing. That is an option for you. So for example, in the month of April, of which you do not have a scheduled meeting here at Chambers, you could schedule a meeting in the public, say at the park, where you guys would meet as a group in unison to discuss whatever subcommittee comments, recommendations, or so forth that you have regarding the report.
I actually have a quick question in regards to that. Okay, thank you so much for bringing that up. I do appreciate that. Just like super quick.
Thank Katie.
Huh? So thank you so much. Just a really quick question in regards to that. So for like our social media, would we be able to advertise that meeting on social media, like on our Facebook or Instagram, or is that not within?
It's publicly
Okay, awesome. Okay, perfect.
And is that the session, will that be Brown Act? Do we have to take public comment and stuff and vote for stuff?
So a study session is different, so it's not as formalized. So I can definitely send you guys the differences between the two so that you're prepared for that.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's get done.
My question to Katie is, do they need to put that, like vote to actually have it, or how would that work?
Yeah, 'cause it's not agendized.
Uh-huh.
How would that, how would you get that to you? I can call special meeting and then, yeah, I can make a special.
So I want to piggyback off of what Vice Chair Pope just spoke about. And Chairman Cannon. One of the things I believe as this commission we should be also doing is supporting our local nonprofit organizations and small minority-owned businesses and so forth. And a little story, I got a call on I think it was the last Sunday of February, that there was this event for Black History Month going on at the City of Lancaster Park. And so I ran down there to check it out. And in fact, there was this really great event. Lots of small business, Black-owned small business vendors were there. They had African drums there. There were just all kinds of food. It was a really, really well-planned event. Lots of people, but not, as to my mind, it wasn't enough citizens in our area at that event. It was mostly the vendors and maybe their family members. And so it just really occurred to me how important it is for us to support these things and know about this, especially if we're the Social Equity Commission. I did speak with the woman who had put this together, and she told me that they had a little bit of a hassle with the police because they came and she had permits for the event, but I guess the city or the police didn't understand that this event would be so big. And it was really a big event. And so she had to, work that out with the police. They were allowed to stay and continue to the end of the event. But she also expressed to me that there had been other events that she had put together at not only at Lancaster Park, but the Terra Sabita Park and, twice. And there were, the events were really well attended by vendors and businesses, but not so much the community. And she had also had some pushback, I guess, from the local police or whomever. So anyway, with all that being said, I asked her, had she ever heard of the Social Equity Commission? She had not, but I thought that this was a place where we could partner with our citizens who are small business, minority-owned businesses, doing great things in our community and the park to support the economic equity amongst our, minority citizens. And we should somehow, partner with these people and ensure that they are able to put together events and not be harassed or bothered by police. So the woman, just to go back, she owns a nonprofit organization, and it's called the Boss Kids Braiding Academy, and she teaches children how to braid hair so that they can grow into some sort of lucrative career. She's had a spot on, I think it was the ABC News, did a spot on her, and she's here in the Antelope Valley. And I would like us to tap into her, or if we can possibly tap into her and any other, types of organizations. After all, that's one of the ways we can bridge the gap in economic equity. So one of the things I had thought is she could possibly come on our next meeting, like Ms. Ross Ms. Reese did. Thank you for presenting, Ms. Reese, and could come out and do a little bit of a presentation on what she does and all of the events that she's putting together for the city. One more thing, on April 17th, I'm not trying to do a commercial for the lady, but I just know, this is, we'll miss this if people don't know about it. But on April 17th, her organization, through a partnership or some sponsorship with Volkswagen out here, they will be doing an Easter basket giveaway for children at the Terrace Sabita Park. The event that she's putting together goes from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. on April 17th. She did not have the exact time that the Easter basket giveaway will start, but that is an event that, through her nonprofit organization, she's offering something nice for the children. So yes, I just wanted to say perhaps we can have the Boss Kids Braiding Academy come and present at our next meeting. I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Invite them. We can put them on the agenda. Commissioner Deloche?
I don't have many comments, just say I'm proud of this team. I'm proud of the young people that are representing and leading us, and I look forward to where the community is, or the commission is going. And I'll do my part to get the educators back here to present so that we can see if there's another subcommittee that we need to develop. Thank you.
No, got to get the kids, but I will say that 17 homeowners isn't enough for me. I mean, we got to take what we can get, but we can do better than that. Somewhat like the deal that Mr. Urick got, $10 million to build Kensington, and, now that's worth probably $20, $30 million already. Can we get something like that for the little guys? You know what I mean? Homeowners. That's what I'm pushing towards. If the mayor can get off the grid, create his own energy system, we can get out of these mortgage banks and these interest rates and figure out a way we can create our own homeowners. You know what I mean? That's something we need to do. The process that we currently have, it's not creating enough homeowners.
Thank you, Commissioner Joseph, and thank you to our outgoing staff, our incoming staff. I am looking forward to moving forward with all that we've said today and all that we've laid out. Thank you, commissioners, again. And my only comment is, and we haven't talked about this, my only comment is that I believe that this commission has to be an advocate for the most vulnerable among us. And the most vulnerable among us are our children, is the next generation. And the most vulnerable among them are foster youth. And we all know what's been going on in the community in regards to foster youth. I've had families come to me about things. And so I would like to adjourn this meeting in solidarity with those families, with children and families that are in foster care and in foster youth, and to make sure that they know that this commission is working to come up in a way to be an advocate for them and to see what that looks like. And I know this city stands behind our young people and our children. So with that being said, this meeting is adjourned until May 18th.